Still snowing in portions of the 4 states, and not only that, we've got negative wind chills already on the board, the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And the Joplin man giving rides home to first responders in an effort to keep them safe.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 5 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment, but first let's go to Michael Hayslip in the Skywatch Weather Center.
Southern portion of southwest Missouri and northeast Oklahoma.
We'll throw northwest Arkansas in there as well, Tanya's, where we still have the rain coming down. Picked up an additional ½ inch on the south end of Joplin, putting that area in between about 5.5 to 6.5 inches right now. Everybody else starting to clear off. As a matter of fact, we'll even have some blue sky and sunshine here later, but with the snowpack that we have, temperature's not going to go anywhere. Winter storm warning for counties in pink for the next 59 minutes at least. And for our counties there in purple, that indicates a winter weather advisory. We're going to stretch that out all the way to 8 a.m. That's a look at our actual temperatures, single digits up in the northwest, and nobody even at the 20-degree mark as of yet, as far as what it feels like, as low as a -6. Everybody else pretty much in between 5 and 7 degrees. And even with the sunshine, that snowpack certainly does make a difference, because while we're going to make it into the 20s, it'll feel like the teens all day long, and then back down to the single digits tomorrow night. A 7-day forecast. Finally get some 30s and 40s up there, get above the freezing mark for Saturday and Sunday, but still it's going to take a while when you get anywhere from 6 to 8 inches of snow for it to completely melt off. And remember, you go to KOAMnewsnow.com, KOAMnewsnow.com, go to our closings page, complete list of organizations, businesses, churches, activities, colleges, and schools. Of note, Missouri Southern and Pittsburgh State, both canceling classes for today. Do want to point out that while USD 250 in Pittsburgh is canceled for today, Joplin R8 indicating virtual only. Yeah, I wanted to point that out. It says virtual only on it. Tell you what, when we come back, I'll show you that.
Okay, well, there's a change.
Okay.
Getting ready. All right. Thanks, Michael. The police in Independence, Kansas are looking for suspects who threw a homemade chemical bomb out of their vehicle. Officers responded to the 1000 block of West Oak for a reported to say a vehicle with 2 people inside drove by, threw a bottle out, and the bottle, filled with household chemicals, exploded. No injuries were reported. Authorities say to stay away from any suspected bottle bombs and call the police immediately. A third suspect from a 2020 kidnapping and murder case gets prison time. Christina Knapp pled guilty to first-degree robbery and first-degree kidnapping in connection with the death of Sarah Pascoe. She gets 15 years on the robbery charge and 10 years on the kidnapping charge. Those sentences are to run consecutively. You can read more about the crime, including the sentences for 2 other suspects in this story at KOAMnewsnow.com. An ambulance in Baxter Springs got stuck in the snow while responding to a call. No one was hurt, and a second ambulance crew responded to the initial call. Cherokee County EMS posted photos on Facebook and thanked everyone who checked on the crew and helped. EMS says if these very heavy vehicles can become incapacitated, then lighter vehicles with lower ground clearance do not stand a chance. Be safe out there. During winter storms, such as the one that we've got, the roads can get a little sketchy, but how bad did they get? Well, bad enough that a snowplow driver tasked with cleaning those roads crashed in Carthage. The driver, a 70-year-old from Webb City, had minor injuries. His truck ran off the side of Goldenrod Road, flipped, and hit a fence. Side effect of ice and snow is power outages, and some 4-staters lost power. However, it was only temporary. Officials with the Carthage Water and Electric plant say they had around 10 customers lose power. They say the best thing you can do is to be prepared.
Get your blankets out, maybe get a flashlight out so you can see the ground around your house. Emergency kit in case you have it, candles so you could have another heat source or something to get around, and contact your local utility provider.
Officials also recommend having plenty of food and water in case of an emergency. Getting home safely for those who had to drive in the winter weather is a priority for all. For area hospital workers, EMS, and other emergency workers, one former first responder is ensuring they get home safely. Before moving to this area, Kyle Kugler was a volunteer firefighter in Virginia. He says he loved playing a key part in helping the community. Now, in Joplin, he's doing that in another way by giving first responders a free ride home and amid this winter weather.
I've had some people call about getting picked up from the hospital for their evening shifts and making sure they can get home if they feel like they can't get home at all. And I've had some people just call and just check in and say thank you so much for what you're doing and everything. And it's been a real blessing to try and be able to help out.
Kugler says he's already had a few people call him to arrange a ride home from work. Good Samaritan there. Well, you can stay up to date with the latest road conditions for your area online and on your phone. Just go to KOAMnewsnow.com or download the KOAM News app and the Skywatch Weather app. It's all free. You can find the apps in the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. It's 5:07.
This is what I was mentioning earlier, Tanya, in the KOAMnewsnow.com closing section. You'll see Joplin R8. It does indicate virtual only, and I'm sure you parents and kiddos have a better grasp on what exactly that entails and whatnot, but I did want to point that out instead of being closed with the either closed Friday or closed. Joplin R8 indicating virtual only. Still have some snow coming down south of I-44. It should last probably another hour. At least it's starting to lighten up a little bit, but we did pick up as much as an inch and a half throughout portions of northeast Oklahoma and far southern and southwest Missouri overnight. Got an additional half-inch of snow south side of Joplin. That's why we've got the winter storm warning in the pink lasting until 6. The winter storm watch is indicated there in the purple. Cold one today. We're going to turn our attention from getting through the snow and the ice to just trying to stay warm as we have wind chills right now that are in the negatives.
This morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, the NFL is investigating into accusations of a practice known as tanking from two former head coaches. We'll take a look. Plus, the snow and ice hit the 4 states and other areas from the Rockies to Ohio. People are impacted by loss of power, among other things, from this winter storm. And COVID cases are down 37% since last week, and health experts are now wondering if it's time to roll back restrictions, including those mask mandates. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Go to DAV.org.
Fort Scott High School girls basketball team enjoying quite the turnaround. At this time last season, Tigers were 2-11 through 13 games. This season through 13 games, they're 10-3. Tied for first place in the SEK, got a 5-1 league record. Not only that, but this week they find themselves in the top 10 in the entire state in Class 4A. Talk about having some success, and that success is the product of what they went through together last season.
Those tough times we had last year gave our girls a taste of what we needed to do this summer and how we needed to come together and how we need to build on that foundation coming into the season. I think that's what we've done thus far.
It's awesome knowing that people are finally recognizing what we've done this season and where it's got us so far. People are going to want to beat us now, just like how we've wanted to beat other people.
Pittsburgh State football announced its 2022 recruiting class on Wednesday, and we also learned All-American linebacker P.J. Sarwinski will use the COVID year. Sarwinski returning for one more season as a Gorilla. He led the team with 84 tackles last season, including 12 tackles for a loss to go along with his 3.5 sacks, had an interception and 2 pass breakups. Galena High School product, first team All-MIAA and an All-American. Sarwinski will finish his master's degree in May. He had planned on last season being his final season, but Sarwinski decided to talk about returning.
I didn't want to say, I can't come back to guys like, Brandon Malikas and Adam Smith, Nate Woods, Bryce Murphy, Elijah Harris. Those guys, we have been, we've been going through it since fall of 2017. We've been here at day one. And I didn't want to say no to them, and they definitely didn't want me to say no to them. So, I think that has a lot to do with it for sure.
What a huge bonus for us this year to be able to get PJ back coming off a All-American season that he had. And not only that, but just the leadership that he brings to our football team, to our program. And we couldn't be more excited to have PJ back.
You can check out our full story with PJ Sarwinski and his decision to return at our sports page, KOAMNewsNow.com. Kansas City Chiefs are losing quarterbacks coach Mike Kafka as the New York Giants have hired Kafka to be their new offensive coordinator. Kansas City could be losing yet another assistant as well. Seems like we've done this story a dozen times over the last 4 years. But yes, Chiefs offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy is interviewing with the New Orleans Saints for their head coaching position this week. This is going to be Bieniemy's 12th head coaching interview in the last 4 years. Got a follow-up on the former Miami Dolphins head coach Brian Flores, who's accusing the NFL and 3 of its teams of racial discrimination in hiring. Dolphins owner Stephen Ross strongly denies allegations in Flores' lawsuit that Ross offered Flores bonuses to lose games on purpose. At the same time, another former NFL coach, Hugh Jackson, has now made a similar claim against his former team, the Cleveland Browns. Several reports say the NFL now investigating these allegations that some owners encouraged so-called tanking.
I think it hurt my standing within the organization, and ultimately was the reason why I was let go.
First on CBS Mornings Wednesday, Brian Flores described his claim that Dolphins owner Stephen Ross offered him $100,000 for each game the team lost in 2019, so the club could secure better draft picks.
This game, changed my life. So to attack the integrity of the game, that's what I felt was happening in that instance, and I wouldn't stand for it.
And that was Dolphins owner Stephen Ross?
Yes. Yes.
Now Ross is hitting back. In a statement released overnight, the owner said the allegations are false, malicious, and defamatory, adding he welcomes an NFL investigation and will cooperate fully. Flores is also suing the team and the NFL alleging racial discrimination. In a statement, the Dolphins denied any allegations of racial discrimination, while the NFL called the claims without merit, and have not responded to our request for comment on any investigation into the alleged tanking scheme involving Ross.
No head coach is going to survive if you lose a lot of games.
Now, in an interview with ESPN, former Cleveland Browns head coach Hugh Jackson says he had been offered a similar incentive by his team.
I tried to sound this alarm a while back, but nobody wanted to listen because the record was so bad.
Jackson said the team had a 4-year plan that incentivized losing during the first 2 years. He led the Browns to a 1-31 record during the 2016 and 2017 seasons, earning the #1 overall draft picks in back-to-back years.
I wasn't offered $100,000 for every game, but there was a substantial amount of money made within, what happened in the situation every year at the end of it.
Jackson said he spoke to NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell about his concerns, but there were no changes.
When I understood what was going on, I immediately called the National Football League and I talked to Roger Goodell about what I thought was going on. So this is not new.
I'm Nate Burleson, CBS News.
CBS also asked the Cleveland Browns and the NFL to respond to Hugh Jackson's allegations, but a spokesperson for the Browns told ESPN the charges, quote, completely fabricated, end quote, and also said any accusation that any member of our organization, being the Cleveland Browns organization, was incentivized to deliberately lose games is categorically false. Still to come on the KOAM Morning News, President Biden in a press conference informs the American people about a secret operation in Syria ending in the death of the leader of the Islamic State. And a check on our 7-day forecast when the KOAM Morning News returns. At least we're getting closer and closer to this being a thing of the past. Here we are. This is a 6-hour loop. So right before midnight, and the snow that we did see out to the west and central portion relatively light. As we stand right now, we're still putting up with snowflakes coming down the southern portion of our highlighted counties right there, as much as 1.5 inches, almost 2 inches in the far southern portions of southwest Missouri along the Arkansas state line. Joplin picked up an additional 1/2 inch as well. Here we are with our watches and warnings. Winter storm warnings are in the pink until 6 a.m. Hopefully we can let those expire. The winter weather advisories, those are counties indicated in purple. Looks like we've got 2 of ours being Delaware and Benton County. Those last until 8 this morning. Update our snow depth numbers, everybody now, in between that 6 to 8 number, and then dive into the far southeastern portion. Get even a little bit more right along the state line. So that's where it's pretty much where we ended up now. We're going to turn our attention from the falling snow and the ice accumulation to freezing cold temperatures. We're down to single digits throughout southeast Kansas. Teens in southwest Missouri and northeast Oklahoma. Then we combo that with the northeast wind that really hasn't given up at all and drops those wind chills down as low as -6 right now in Yates Center. Let's roll 6 degrees is what it feels like in Webb City and 4 degrees in Parsons. Remember, you can always go to KOAMnewsnow.com, KOAMnewsnow.com. That's your one-stop resource for all our closings, whether it be for government buildings, churches, activities, businesses, and of course schools. Did point out earlier that Pitt State and Missouri Southern have both canceled for today. And also, too, I wanted to point out Joplin R8 indicating virtual only at Joplin R8. Watches and warnings still extending from us all the way up to Maine as the storm system, as it gets through the northeastern portion of the U.S., actually not going to drop as much snow on them as what it did. They'll get more ice, though, than what we did. And we certainly got our fair amount of ice. And of course, they'll follow that up with their freezing cold temperatures. Weather trend for today, we actually will see some sunshine, but with that snowpack that we have, it still remains cold all the way into the weekend. Will be nice to be able to say hello to the glow cloud, at least for a little bit. But as we work into Saturday, back down to single digits here for tonight. And then finally on Saturday and Sunday, we get above the freezing mark and we're actually able to ride that out into next week for the most part. Ice and snow in the forecast from the Rockies to New England. Winter weather making roads virtually impassable in some areas, also causing power outages for millions of Americans. That's our something to talk about this morning. We'll get to our poll question, but here's some of the details.
A massive winter storm is inching its way across the U.S.
This is generally just going to make for a horrible morning commute.
At its height, the system stretched from Texas to Maine, prompting weather alerts and warnings along a roughly 2,300-mile corridor. As temperatures fell, ice became a primary concern. Indiana deployed its National Guard to assist stranded drivers.
The snow right now is pretty powdery. Sometimes temperatures will rise a little bit, it'll melt, and then it'll drop and it'll turn into ice. That's where I think we're really concerned. The ice is the real killer out here.
Hundreds of crashes were reported in several states. A 16-car pileup left 6 people injured near Memphis.
Everyone's going about 10 miles per hour on the side roads, and it is slick.
The weather is wreaking havoc on air travel as well. Megan White and her husband were lucky to get out of Louisville.
We're going to Cancun. I don't care what's happening. We're going to end up going to Cancun. Definitely. We need this vacation.
On Thursday, more than 5,000 flights were canceled. More are expected today as the storm moves over the Northeast. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
Going through our current delays right here. Right now, we've got 166 flights so far that have been canceled. That's just between 3 and 7 a.m. So we'll see that exponentially go up. Looks like LaGuardia, JFK, everything coming out of New York right now, posing the biggest problem. So is Boston. Logan International in Boston, also causing some problems. Our question for you this morning, are you staying safe in this winter storm? I hope your answer is yes, because if it's not, I need you to do that rather than vote on the KOAM Insta poll. You can either connect to us via our Facebook page or go directly to the poll, KOAMnewsnow.com/vote. Be back with Healthwatch next.
Inside the data for $30 a month from U.S. Cellular.
Topping Healthwatch this morning, the U.S. is now averaging more than 385,000 new COVID-19 cases daily, and that's according to Johns Hopkins University, a drop of 37% since last week. And that has some health experts rethinking the benchmark used to measure the state of COVID-19. Look at why federal health officials are not ready to ease restrictions despite the optimistic numbers.
Growing signs that the U.S. could be ready to ease COVID-19 restrictions and start moving back toward normal.
I can't tell you exactly when, but there are more and more positive indicators each day that tell us we are making progress to that final goal.
The average number of new daily cases is down 37% since last week and is trending down in all but one state, Alabama. And as the Omicron variant appears to be receding, some health experts are asking whether it's time to roll back some COVID-19 restrictions and end mask mandates. On Wednesday, the White House declined to say when the administration would offer a clear plan to transition out of the pandemic, with the CDC director saying she's cautiously optimistic.
We really do have to look to our hospitalization rates and our death rates to look to when is time to lift some of these mitigation efforts. We will continue to reevaluate, and we know people are anxious.
However, CDC data shows the average daily number of COVID-19 deaths is up 6% from a week ago. And while hospitalizations are down 15%, health experts say the rates are still high and could threaten capacity at some hospitals across the country.
This is a virus that's still adapting to people, and people need to adapt to the virus.
And as a new report finds, unvaccinated people are 97 times more likely to die of COVID than those with a booster dose. Health officials reiterate the best protection against coronavirus is vaccinations.
Data are really stunningly obvious why a booster is really very important.
Well, many counties and cities in the U.S. rely on coronavirus transmission rates to determine whether to ease COVID-19 restrictions and when to change the recommended safety guidelines. Medicare will cover 8 free COVID at-home tests per month starting this spring, becoming a relief for individuals who struggle to get them. The administration announced on Thursday that Medicare will provide free COVID at-home tests, making this the first time the healthcare program will cover free over-the-counter tests. The exams will be available for delivery through a government-run website, which allows you to start by ordering 4 tests per address delivered by the Postal Service. People can also pick them up in person by going to free testing sites and pharmacies. Well, a recent study shows loneliness can increase the risk of older women dying of heartbreak. A team from the University of California, San Diego found social isolation and loneliness are increasing factors for heart illnesses, especially in women. The study involved more than 50,000 participants and observed them for 4 years. When older females experience the lack of interaction with others, their chances of cardiac issues increase from 13 to 27%. Previous research shows women experience more social isolation than men. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Snow slowly dropping off to the southeast, but travel still problematic on this Friday morning, especially if you're trying to go south down 49. Going to run right into that, right along the state line right there. We're now all encompassed with 6 to 8 inches of snow since our event began. We'll be done with the snow in the south here about next hour and a half, 2 hours. And then we just lock in and remember, all that slush that's created by our traffic is simply going to refreeze because our temperatures right now are not going to get close to the freezing mark. Wind chills, negatives up in the northwest, -4 and -2 in Yates Center and Iola. And it's going to be a while. I got it right here. I'm shooting right through. It's going to be a while before we get up past the freezing mark, even with the sunshine, because it's called the snowpack. And when you get a legitimate snowpack like that, your temperatures don't want to budge. 36 on Saturday. Sunday, we begin a little bit of a melt in earnest. But when you get 6 to 8 inches, and we'll update your numbers right after this, it's going to be a while before it's all gone.
At Area Hearing and Speech Clinic.
Coming up, wanted suspects who threw a homemade chemical bomb out of a car in Independence.
Our watches and warnings getting a little bit better, but we've still got snowfall on this Friday morning. We'll have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And we meet a Joplin man who's giving rides home to first responders in an effort to keep them safe.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 5:30. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment. But first, let's check out the latest conditions with Michael Hayslip.
Let's jaunt down to the southern portion of the 4 states where the snow continues to fall. Everybody up above that line, done for the day. Anything you do see is simply going to be blowing snow off elevated areas. But with that being said, let's focus in on our southern counties where we picked up an additional 1.5 inches overnight, because we still have winter storm warnings up until 6 a.m. for the pink counties, the purple indicating a winter weather advisory for both Delaware and Benton. And now that our event is coming to an end, look at that squarely, that medium blue, 6 to 8 inches is pretty much everywhere. As a matter of fact, if you were to go this way, they've actually got about a little bit over 8 out to the eastern part of us. Temperatures, it is frigid outside right now, anywhere between 6 and 18 degrees, and it's going to take a while before we even can consistently stay above the freezing mark. High today around 27, but it's called snowpack, and what it does prevents that sun from really doing anything. So it's no melt, and then overnight in between Friday and Saturday, once again, we need to watch out for our slushy roads, refreezing all day long. We're back down to single digits. Beginning tomorrow, we barely make it above the freezing point. But then Sunday, I think we can finally begin to see a little bit of it. Our drifts at least get a little shorter, if you will. But Tanya, look at those overnight lows. That's going to play a key factor. Thought it was going to pop up when I said look at those overnight lows.
I didn't like you.
It's going to play. That's going to play a key factor during our daytime, semi-melt, because we're going to refreeze after that.
Yeah, I'm liking that the lows are a little bit higher than, get them back into the teens.
Mark my words, by Wednesday, Thursday next week, we're still going to have shaded areas where snow will remain.
Oh yeah, and the rest of it will be just a pure mud mess.
Mud mess.
Yes.
Yep.
If you thought your floors were dirty now, just wait.
It's going to go from salt on everybody's floors to mud on everybody's floors.
Have you seen the break room?
That's what I was thinking. That's what I was kind of mentioning when I was like salt on everybody's
all
floor.
Over, yeah. All right, thanks, Michael. Well, third suspect in a 2020 kidnapping and murder investigation gets prison time. Christina Knapp pled guilty to first-degree robbery and first-degree kidnapping in connection with the death of Sarah Pascoe. She gets 15 years on the robbery charge and 10 years on the kidnapping charge. Those sentences are to run consecutively. You can read more about the crime, including the sentences for 2 other suspects in the story at KOAMnewsnow.com. Police in Independence, Kansas are looking for suspects who they say threw a homemade chemical bomb out of a vehicle. It happened on Monday shortly after noon. Officers responded to the 1000 block of West Oak for a reported explosion. Witnesses say a vehicle with 2 people inside drove by, threw a bottle out, and the bottle filled with household chemicals exploded. No injuries were reported. Authorities say to stay away from any suspected bottle bombs and call the police immediately. A Baxter Springs ambulance got stuck responding to a call yesterday. No one was hurt, and a second ambulance crew responded to the initial call. Cherokee County EMS posted photos on Facebook and thanked everyone who checked on the crew and helped. EMS says if these very heavy vehicles can become incapacitated, then lighter vehicles with lower ground clearance do not stand a chance. Well, just how bad are the roads? Well, bad enough that a snowplow driver tasked with cleaning those roads crashed in Carthage. The driver, a 70-year-old from Webb City, had minor injuries. His truck ran off the side of Goldenrod Road, flipped, and hit a fence. The snow and ice caused some 4 staters to lose power temporarily, but at this point, not many. Officials with the Carthage Water and Electric plant say they had around 10 customers lose power, and they say the best thing you can do is to be prepared.
Get your blankets out, maybe get a flashlight out so you can see the ground around your house, emergency kit in case you have it, candles so you could have another heat source or something to get around, and contact your local utility provider.
Officials also recommend having plenty of food and water in case of emergency. Well, a former first responder is helping area hospital, EMS, and other emergency workers get home safely. Before moving to this area, Kyle Kugler was a volunteer firefighter in Virginia. He said he loved playing a key part in helping the community. And now in Joplin, he's doing that in another way, by giving first responders a free ride home amid this winter weather.
I've had some people call about getting picked up from the hospital for their evening shifts and making sure they can get home if they feel like they can't get home at all. And I've had some people just call and just check in and say thank you so much for what you're doing and everything. And it's been a real blessing to try and be able to help out.
Kugler says he didn't do this for attention. He just felt it was important to give first responders this option to get them home safely. A wonderful idea. Here's Michael with it.
Outage numbers looking considerably better than what we had past couple of days. We sit at Woodson, Greenwood, and Coffee County right here throughout southeast Kansas. We've still got several hundred customers in those 3 counties.
Oh, wow.
That are without power right now. But for the most part, our other outages are very spotty and affecting anywhere from about 10 to 20 customers at a time. Still got the snow rolling through the southern 4 states, and of course that's why we've got that winter storm warning lasting for at least the next 20 minutes. Hopefully we hit that 6 o'clock hour, we can throw up that watch and warning map, and those will be a thing of the past because that'll be an indicator we're headed in the right direction. As far as heading in a melting direction, well, that is going to take a while. You know, we'll get above freezing on Saturday. You get that much snow on the ground, it's certainly not going to feel much like above freezing, and then finally we hit the 40s on Sunday.
Well, this morning we are discussing safety in the winter storm.
And once again, I'm going to reiterate, if you're not practicing safety in this winter storm, don't answer our poll. Because I want you to be safe.
Yeah. Yeah.
86% right now say yes, you are being safe. And I will say this, just from my personal experience out on the roads here in the last 48 hours, everybody is taking it slow.
Yeah, well, I mean, we can check out those MoDOT cams, checking out I-44, and we saw how slow the semis were creeping
They were
on that
creeping
highway
along.
yesterday.
Now, everybody don't let your guard down because remember, we got the refreeze.
Mhm.
The old refreeze are coming.
Yeah, anytime you have that chance of melt on the highways during the day, even if it's just from like driving on it that melts.
That's right,
not
yeah.
the temperatures.
There's
There's going to be a little melt from
it's
under
almost,
the tires.
It's almost us that causes it.
Yeah,
Because we're
it's
out
gonna
and about.
refreeze.
Right.
There could be patches. There's that thing called black ice out there. We got to be safe.
Oh, there's plenty of that, trust
Yeah,
me.
especially on bridges. Oh my goodness. All right, well, that's a look at our top news stories. Coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News, 2 Florida lawmakers are pushing to add strawberry shortcake to the official dessert list. We'll find out why. Plus, Russia and China meet up ahead of the Olympics to talk about things such as trade. We'll have the latest. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
3 things you need to know about flu and chronic
Foundation, 87 and running.
Topping World Watch, President Biden says the leader of the Islamic State blew himself up during an overnight raid by U.S. Special Operations Forces in northwest Syria. About 50 troops took part in the operation. Deborah Alfarone has the details from the White House.
This is what remains after an explosion at a home in Syria near the Turkish border that killed ISIS leader Abu Ibrahim al-Hashimi al-Qurashi, also known as Haji Abdullah.
He chose to blow himself up, not just to the vest, but to blow up that 3rd floor, rather than face justice for the crimes he has committed, taking several members of his family with him.
U.S. Special Forces had moved in 2 hours before, landing helicopters and exchanging fire with gunmen. This man says, "We went out and saw planes above us. 10 minutes later, we heard screams, 'Surrender, the house is surrounded.'" The Pentagon says 7 people were killed, including 3 children. After the operation, one of the U.S. helicopters developed a mechanical problem and was destroyed away from the target site.
It was a drivetrain issue that rendered that helicopter unusable for the rest of the operation. So obviously it was destroyed, but the crew are safe and sound.
The Pentagon says forces were able to evacuate 10 people from the building, including 8 children. U.S. officials will now try to determine if American action caused civilian deaths. President Biden and members of his national security team watched a live feed of the operation from the White House Situation Room.
Last night's operation took a major terrorist leader off the battlefield, and it sent a strong message to terrorists around the world. We will come after you and find you.
The Pentagon says the special forces conducted dozens of rehearsals before the operation to ensure its success. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, the White House.
The operation came as ISIS was launching a resurgence, including an attack on a prison camp last month. High-level talks between Russian President Vladimir Putin and Chinese leader Xi Jinping are being held in Beijing's Diatua State Guest House on Friday, and that's according to Chinese state broadcaster CCTV. The complex is in Beijing, where state visits are held. The two leaders will discuss bilateral trade and relevant international topics. That's according to a letter Putin penned in Chinese state media on Thursday. That's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. We'll be right back with the news you need to know before you head out the door. Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. The third suspect in a 2020 kidnapping and murder investigation gets prison time. Christina Knapp pled guilty to first-degree robbery and first-degree kidnapping in connection with the death of Sarah Pascoe. She gets 15 years on the robbery charge and 10 years on the kidnapping charge. Those sentences are to run consecutively. You can read more about the crime, including the sentences for two other suspects in the story, at KOAMnewsnow.com. Police in Independence, Kansas are looking for suspects who they say threw a homemade chemical bomb out of a vehicle. Happened on Monday shortly after noon. Officers responded to the 1000 block of West Oak for a reported explosion. Witnesses say a vehicle with two people inside drove by, threw a bottle out, and the bottle filled with household chemicals exploded. No injuries were reported. Authorities say to stay away from any suspected bottle bombs and call the police immediately. Baxter Springs ambulance got stuck responding to a call yesterday. No one was hurt, and a second ambulance crew responded to the initial call. Cherokee County EMS posted photos on Facebook and thanked everyone who checked on the crew and helped. EMS says if these very heavy vehicles can become incapacitated, then lighter vehicles with lower ground clearance do not stand a chance. Just how bad are the roads? Well, bad enough that a snowplow driver tasked with cleaning the roads crashed in Carthage. The driver, a 70-year-old from Webb City, had minor injuries. His truck ran off the side of Goldenrod Road, flipped, and hit a fence. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
Got some new storm reports that are coming in. Let's jump down to southwest Missouri, where overnight an additional 2 inches right there in Neosho is the one that we're going to take a look at the details of. Overnight, an additional 2 inches falling in Newton County in Neosho. That brings the 48-hour total for the event as a whole, 7.5 inches in Neosho. Some pretty impressive numbers. 6 to 8 inches just about everywhere. We've still got the winter storm warning there lasting, and hopefully we can let that thing expire here in the next 10 minutes. Let's run back to the radar and watch the snow and see how it is dropping off to the southeast. So here probably about the next, say hour and a half, we should be completely done. Now back to the watches and warnings, because while the pink indicates a winter storm warning, we also have 2 counties in the midst of winter weather advisories. And that's going to be Delaware County in northeast Oklahoma and Benton County in northwest Arkansas. Here's a look at those snow depth numbers. Like I said, you get that medium blue right there. That's 6 to 8, just about everywhere. And you drop down there right on the Arkansas-Missouri state line, and that's where you're in that 8 to 12 portions. 48 hours. That's impressive. That's impressive. Been a while since we had legitimate snowfall like this. Future track, it is a cold one today. We will stay below the freezing mark overnight, dropping down to single digits once again. And then finally, Saturday, we're above 32 degrees and we can ride that into next week. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this.
At Affordable Dentures and Implants.
Key lime pie may be Florida's official dessert, but it's not its only sweet treat. 2 state lawmakers are pushing to add strawberry shortcake to the official dessert list. Fox's Catherine Hawley has the story.
The Sunshine State may be known for citrus, but don't worry, there's no food fight here. Key lime pie is already Florida's state pie. This session, lawmakers are debating which dessert is named the state's official post-dinner treat.
This was an idea that Representative Lawrence McClure and I kind of brainstormed together because we are both so very proud to be representing the great city of Plant City, Florida.
Grab some sweet biscuits, top it with a healthy dollop of whipped cream, add a layer of juicy strawberries, and you have a tasty strawberry shortcake. Last week, the Senate unanimously voted to make it the state's official dessert.
We can have our cake and eat it too.
Plant City is the heart of our strawberry industry, and it brings sweet success to the state. More than 10,000 acres of the fruit are planted in that area every year. The fields make up nearly 75% of the nation's winter strawberry crop.
The pillars of our economy in the state is agriculture, and the strawberry industry is one of the biggest components to that. I mean, we're talking about billions of dollars of economic impact. It's profound.
And the treat is already a fan favorite. About 200,000 strawberry shortcakes are served every year at the Florida Strawberry Festival. But lawmakers aren't just plating up a slice. It also needs to be dressed with something homegrown.
In keeping with the theme of fresh from Florida, we decided to make sure that our whipped cream, in order to identify what is the true Florida champion of strawberry shortcakes, it would, of course, have to have natural Florida dairy.
A new state symbol we can all stomach.
Strawberry shortcake would become Florida's state dessert on July 1st. What a sweet treat. We'll be right back.
Access Family Care, Medical and Dental.
To learn more, go to pcf.org.
At 44, mile marker 18, right by the 44-49 exchange. Worked down to the south of that live shot right there. Had an additional 2 inches of snow overnight. Brings the total in Neosho, Missouri to 7.5 for the last 48 hours. That's what we're holding on to snow-wise. So we're just about done. Give it here another 45 minutes to an hour. Should be completely down to the southeast. It's a cold one though. Our temperatures right now in the teens. We've got negative wind chills and a high today still 5 degrees below the freezing mark. We're going to come back, talk about snow accumulation and also some notable nationwide records right after this.
Coming up, wanted suspects who threw a homemade chemical bomb out of a car in Independence.
We turn our attention from getting through the snow and ice to waiting for it to melt. Refreezing is going to be a problem. The latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And we'll meet a Joplin man who's giving rides home to first responders in an effort to keep them safe.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 6 a.m. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment. But first, let's go to Michael Hayslip, who's tracking what's left of our winter storm.
So close. We are so close. We see a little bit in Delaware, Benton, and then in Berry County, but we're just about done with our snow. It's not only moving to the east, but also dropping off to the southeast a little bit. So central Arkansas, that is already having serious power outage issues. They're going to have to deal with that. Okay, our winter storm warnings have expired. There we go. We see nobody left in our pink colored category. So that happened just a minute ago. That is great news. Now we still do have the winter weather advisory. That's in effect for Delaware and Benton County, set to expire at 8 a.m. Just some light snowfall will remain throughout the rest of the day. Out there you see on your left-hand side, see that light blue? That's a wind chill advisory that they've got all the way down into South Texas, and we'll kind of poke fun at South Texas here in just a little bit, because our snow depth numbers, that's what we've got. We've got 6 to 8 inches everywhere in the past 48 hours. As a matter of fact, Joplin, south part of Joplin, picked up an additional ½ inch overnight. Neosho in Newton County, Missouri, picked up 2 inches overnight, up to 7.5 now total. And it's frigid cold. Whole bunch of single digits up to the north and central portion of the 4 states. 18 is as high as we see right now, and the wind factored in means, oh yeah, it feels like the negatives up to the north. We've got a 0 in Lamar and a 0 in Independence as well. 7-day forecast. Highs today in the mid-20s. That's as good as we're going to get, but our wind chill remains in the teens all Friday long. Overnight lows back to single digits, finally above the 32-degree mark on Saturday. Tanya, don't forget, you can go to KOAMnewsnow.com, go to our closing section, complete list of businesses, activities, government buildings, and of course schools. Pittsburgh State and Missouri Southern both canceled today. Joplin R8 indicating that they're going virtual only.
All right.
Now, to poke a little fun at the old Lone Star State that you and I both love and adore, set a record in Dallas, snowfall yesterday.
Wow.
Yeah.
I heard they closed down the airport.
Set a February 3rd record. You know how much I got?
How much?
Inch and a half.
Oh my goodness.
Everything stops in Texas
I thought,
with the threat of snow.
yeah, it does.
Yes. That is their February 3rd record, inch and a half.
Inch and a half. Just for the day. What about like is there other days where they actually get like
No.
6 inches? No.
No. They look up at the sky and they're like, there's a possibility. There's a possibility that it might snow today. We better make a run on Kroger right now.
So I used to live in Texas, and so did Michael, and we love Texas.
We do.
We just like to
Just allowed
have
to
a
make
little
of
fun
it.
every now and then. So what really might be bigger in Texas is not the actuality of it, but the imagination.
Exactly. Our ground may have a snowflake on it. Everybody get ye to Kroger ASAP.
Hey, you know, they had some severe power outages last year, so we definitely don't want a repeat of that this year.
They did.
We feel for everyone in Texas.
Come on.
We love you, Texas.
We got 6 to 8 inches
I have
across the
family
4
in
states,
Texas.
and they're like inch and a half. Oh my goodness.
All right. I used to walk uphill both ways through the snow.
Barefoot. You
Barefoot
did too.
in the snow. Yeah. Well, I was never barefoot, but yes. All right. Thanks, Michael. Well, police in Independence, Kansas are looking for suspects who threw a homemade chemical bomb out of their vehicle. Officers responded to the 1000 block of West Oak for a reported explosion. Witnesses say a vehicle with 2 people inside drove by, threw a bottle out, and the bottle filled with household chemicals exploded. No injuries were reported. Authorities say to stay away from any suspected bottle bombs and call the police immediately. A third suspect from a 2020 kidnapping and murder case gets prison time. Christina Knapp pled guilty to first-degree robbery and first-degree kidnapping in connection with the death of Sarah Pascoe. She gets 15 years on the robbery charge and 10 years on the kidnapping charge. Those sentences are to run consecutively. You can read more about the crime, including the sentences for 2 other suspects in this story, KOAMnewsnow.com. An ambulance in Baxter Springs gets stuck in the snow while responding to a call. No one was hurt, and a second ambulance crew responded to the initial call. Cherokee County EMS posted photos on Facebook and thanked everyone who checked on the crew and helped. EMS says if these very heavy vehicles can become incapacitated, then lighter vehicles with lower ground clearance do not stand a chance. Well, just how bad can roads get during this winter storm? Well, bad enough. A snowplow driver tasked with cleaning those roads crashed in Carthage. The driver, a 70-year-old from Webb City, had minor injuries. His truck ran off the side of Goldenrod Road, flipped, and hit a fence. Glad he's okay. One side effect of snow and ice is power outages, and some 4-staters lost power. However, it was only temporary. Officials with the Carthage Water and Electric plant say they had around 10 customers lose power. They say the best you can do is to be prepared.
Get your blankets out, maybe get a flashlight out so you can see to ground around your house. Emergency kit in case you have it. Candles so you could have another heat source or something to get around. And contact your local utility provider.
Officials also recommend having plenty of food and water in case of an emergency, although we do have reports of Woodson, Coffee, and Greenwood County customers losing 270 customers losing power there. We'll keep an update on that. Well, getting home safely for those who had to drive in the winter weather is a priority for all. For area hospital workers, EMS, and other emergency workers, one former first responder is ensuring they get home safely. Before moving to this area, Kyle Kugler was a volunteer firefighter in Virginia. He says he loved playing a key part in helping the community. In Joplin, he's doing that in another way by giving first responders a free ride home and amid this winter weather.
I've had some people call about getting picked up from the hospital for their evening shifts and making sure they can get home if they feel like they can't get home at all. And I've had some people just call and just check in and say thank you so much for what you're doing and everything. And it's been a real blessing to try and be able to help out.
Kugler says he's already had a few people call him to arrange a ride home from work. I'm glad he's there to do that. Well, you can stay up to date with the latest road conditions for your area online and on your phone. Just go to KOAMnewsnow.com and download the KOAM News app and the Skywatch Weather app. It's all free. You can find the apps in the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. On this date in 1974, Patty Hearst, the 19-year-old granddaughter to newspaper publisher William Randolph Hearst, is kidnapped from her apartment in Berkeley, California. 3 days later, a group calling itself the Symbionese Liberation Army, or the SLA, announced to a Berkeley radio station that they were holding Hearst as a, quote, prisoner of war. Subsequent demands and negotiations for the release of Patty Hearst followed for months until the situation changed dramatically. In April, a surveillance camera in a San Francisco bank showed Patty Hearst participating in an armed robbery. In a taped statement, Hearst said she had joined the SLA of her own free will. Witnesses also saw her participating in another robbery in Los Angeles. Authorities apprehended Patty Hearst over a year later. Despite her claim the SLA had brainwashed her, she was sentenced to 7 years for bank robbery. The Patty Hearst story.
Pretty amazing story. Crazy story is what it is. Unfortunate story. Including bombs and bank robberies and the whole nine. Skywatch Storm Tracker, as snow pushes off to the east and southeast, we are at least done with our winter weather warning. So that's an idea that we're moving in the right direction. Even though we'll get sunshine today, still frigid cold, as temperatures will only make it up into the mid-20s and overnight lows back to single digits.
That's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, security preparations at the SoFi Center wrap up as the Super Bowl draws near. Plus, the top man at CNN steps down as yet another scandal rocks the cable news network. And today is National Wear Red Day to bring awareness to heart disease, the leading cause of death for women. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. More real news in the morning. We'll be right back.
Ron Supermarket is
TV.
Topping Nation Watch this morning, it's expected 25,000 fans will show up at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles for the Super Bowl in less than 2 weeks. With that, many people comes a lot of security considerations. Here's a closer look at those preparations.
LAPD beefing up patrols starting now at sites like LA Live, where throngs of fans are expected as we ramp up to the big game. It's giving fans confidence in security.
That helps a lot.
I think they'll pull it off for us.
LAPD Chief Michael Moore.
Actual added deployments for now, between now and the day after Super Bowl, for the activities related to this celebration, this competition.
SoFi is already getting dressed up and ready as fans from across the country make their way to LA. And it's not just local law enforcement stepping up precautions. Federal agents are on the scene as well. Part of that security arsenal is this chopper from the Department of Energy Nuclear Security Administration. The helicopter is equipped with radiation sensing technology, making certain the unthinkable doesn't happen. On the ground, Customs and Border Protection showed off this scanning device, which will X-ray vehicles coming into the secured area around SoFi.
They'll be staged right outside of SoFi Stadium, and we will be running scans or X-rays of all conveyances that are going into the facility. We will be looking for things that shouldn't be in the cargo, weapons, explosives, any types of items, contraband, things that could present threats to the attendees and to the facility.
And of course, the FBI is monitoring chatter from everywhere. We spoke with the FBI Assistant Director in charge here in LA.
We have no specific threats going into the date of February 13th. But starting tomorrow, we will have our intelligence command post set up here. And every day until and through the Super Bowl, we will make sure that we are tracking any concerns that we can share with our partners and act upon.
That's a look at one of today's top national stories. We'll be right back.
Ship, but it's an indicator that we're beginning to clear off cloud cover wise and finally dispatch of our snow. Starting to see some traffic pick up on I-44 and the 49 exchange. Best bet though is to stay off the roads if possible. Kind of twofold. Number one, there's certainly black ice out there, but number two, look at that snow still coming out there with those vehicles going through. Number two, we're going to get some slush, and it's easily going to refreeze today. Here's the positive. Done with the snow, pretty much done with the snow. We're clinging to it right there in Berry County. We'll see a little bit more come through Benton County as well. But our winter storm warnings now a thing of the past. We're just holding on to 2 winter weather advisories for Delaware and Benton County. Still very, very cold outside. Our temperatures right now in the single digits up to the north. Wind chills in the negatives, and really not much of a reprieve, even though we will get some sunshine today. It's because of what we call the snowpack. You get 6 to 8 inches in just about all of our locations. And the sunshine, well, first off, we've got to melt it before it actually has any impact on our temperatures. Finally get above freezing on Saturday. CNN facing some big changes a day after President Jeff Zucker decided to resign. Zucker says he broke company policy, failing to disclose a consensual relationship with a longtime colleague, in fact, one of his top aides at the company's highest level. Jerika Duncan shows us how the issue came up, and it came up during the investigation of former CNN anchor Chris Koam.
This is how CNN made the bombshell announcement.
We have news now to report involving our network. CNN President Jeff Zucker has just resigned after disclosing a consensual relationship with a colleague.
Jeff Zucker admitted to violating CNN company policy Wednesday by not disclosing a consensual relationship with fellow CNN executive Allison Gullist. Gullist is CNN vice president and the network's chief marketing officer. In a statement, Zucker acknowledged the relationship, saying, "I was required to disclose it when it began, but I didn't. I was wrong." He referred to Gullist as his closest colleague and said the pair worked together for more than 20 years.
It should have been disclosed.
Attorney Jean Christensen specializes in employment discrimination.
Many people will hear this and go, okay, 2 consenting adults, they're both in high-level management positions. What's the big deal?
The big deal is that, not that they're 2 consenting adults, it's that CNN has a policy that you're supposed to disclose the fact that you are in such a relationship.
Zucker's departure from CNN comes 2 months after he fired anchor Chris Cuomo. Cuomo was fired for advising his brother, former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo, on how to handle sexual misconduct allegations. Zucker was asked about his relationship with Gullist as part of CNN's Chris Cuomo investigation.
This is a domino effect that begins with Andrew Cuomo going down in the governor's office, and then Chris Cuomo being fired from CNN, and then Jeff Zucker losing his job at CNN.
Gullist acknowledged the consensual relationship, said she regretted not disclosing it at the right time. Gullist remains at CNN. Christensen also said it's highly unlikely 2 people at top positions or in the same department could ever stay on, even after they disclose a consensual relationship. We'll be back with Healthwatch next.
Feel the thrill of fast.
Topping Healthwatch this morning on this National Wear Red Day, the American Heart Association hopes to raise awareness about the #1 killer of women. Danya Bacchus has the story of one woman who suffered a heart condition, a condition on the rise in females.
75-year-old Dr. Elaine Camille spends her days caring for children with kidney disorders. After a work trip in 2013, she experienced chest pain and shortness of breath.
I actually had been seeing a cardiologist for a few months beforehand because I've been having some chest discomfort, and my evaluation was fine.
She was diagnosed with broken heart syndrome, which causes weakness of the heart muscle, often triggered by emotional or physical stress. While considered temporary, up to 10% of patients will have another event within 5 years.
We lost one of our sons at the very end of 2009. I'm pretty sure I had another episode back then.
Heart disease is the #1 killer of women.
The Women's Heart Alliance has launched a new awareness campaign.
We are doing this because of the rising cardiovascular death rates in women, particularly younger women under the age of 50, and particularly women of color. And this started before the pandemic, but it has been exacerbated by the pandemic.
Dr. Noelle Berry-Mers with Cedars-Sinai Medical Center says the warning signs are not just chest pain.
Women will have other types of symptoms, and this is why they get misdiagnosed: indigestion, overwhelming fatigue, shortness of breath, radiating pain into their jaw or their shoulder.
Research shows broken heart syndrome is on the rise in middle-aged and older women.
I go for regular follow-ups. I take my medications faithfully. The hard part is, I guess, psychologically, knowing that you had this problem and not being worried constantly it's going to come back.
Dr. Camille is part of a Cedars-Sinai study to help doctors better understand the condition. She hopes more women take charge of their heart health. Danya Backus, CBS News.
It's important to get your heart checked. A doctor can calculate a woman's risk of heart disease through tests and screenings. And a new study examining how different forms of media can affect mental health found consuming traditional media didn't have much of an impact on short-term well-being. Researchers in the UK observed those who read books, magazines, or audiobooks were just as happy or anxious as those who did not, while those who engaged with music, television, films, and video games tended to have lower happiness and higher anxiety levels than those who did not. That's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
Skirting right along as we've been able to lose our winter weather warnings. We do have 2 advisories left for Delaware and Benton County, where we see a little snow holding on, but say about 98% of the 4 states is done. As a matter of fact, we'll even have some blue sky and sunshine today, but it's going to take more than one day of blue sky and sunshine to overwhelm these Arctic cold temperatures. As we sit in single digits for the most part, don't even have a 20-degree mark on the board, and mid-20s about as good as we're going to get. Really don't begin our melt until, say, Sunday, because Saturday we're just barely above freezing, and overnight lows continue to fall into the 20s.
Coming up, wanted suspects who threw a homemade chemical bomb out of a car in Independence.
A little bit more headlight action out there compared to what we've seen past 48 hours. That's because the snow is a thing of the past, but the road conditions, they are certainly not pristine. The latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And we'll meet a Joplin man who's giving rides home to first responders in an effort to keep them safe.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. It is 6:30. I'm Tanya Bach. We'll get to those stories in just a moment, but first let's go to the Skywatch Weather Center. Michael has been tracking this for days now.
A little uptick in our Friday morning traffic on I-44, and I realize that's because for the past 48 hours everybody has been playing it safe, and there comes a point in time where you say, okay, I need to get out and I got to get some stuff done. With that being said, MoDOT, KDOT, ODOT, still urging people to stay off the roads if possible. And you can tell everybody's still kind of inching along right there. Black ice, a distinct possibility. There's certainly patches of it on any road that you're on. But our snow finally just about a thing of the past. We're clinging on to some light snow. And our highlighted counties down to the south, their winter weather warnings, they have expired. We love to hear that. Winter weather advisories for Delaware and Benton County. And latest storm reports coming in. Got one out of Neosho from last night. This gives you an idea of the snow depth that we ended up with. But even overnight, it didn't disappoint. How about this one? An additional 2 inches of snow measured at 5 a.m., bringing Neosho's 48-hour total to 7.5 inches. And so once you get into that medium blue area right there, that's 6 to 8 inches for the entire 4 states. That's a rather impressive event for us. I know that everybody will say, well, I've seen more in my lifetime. Well, it's been a while. In some places, it's been as long as 2015 since we had this much accumulation. Weather trend for today, yeah, we get sunshine, but it's not enough to overcome what we call the snowpack. Going to have to melt that off before the ground begins to finally warm off a little bit. So, Tanya, it's going to be a long, slow process here because only 36 on Saturday. Yeah, 40 on Sunday. But we've got 6 to 8 inches to melt through.
Yeah, well, once it starts melting, we're going to have a slushy mess and have to
watch the refreeze.
Deal with that refreeze.
Refreeze overnight.
Yeah, that'll start soon. All right, thanks, Michael. A third suspect in a 2020 kidnapping and murder investigation gets prison time. Christina Knapp pled guilty to first-degree robbery and first-degree kidnapping in connection with the death of Sarah Pascoe. She gets 15 years on the robbery charge and 10 years on the kidnapping charge. Those sentences are to run consecutively. You can read more about the crime, including the sentences for 2 other suspects in this story at KOAMnewsnow.com. Police in Independence, Kansas are looking for suspects who they say threw a homemade chemical bomb out of a vehicle. It happened on Monday, shortly after noon. Officers responded to the 1000 block of West Oak for a reported explosion. Witnesses say a vehicle with 2 people inside drove by, threw a bottle out, and the bottle filled with household chemicals exploded. No injuries were reported. Authorities say to stay away from any suspected bottle bombs and to call the police immediately. A Baxter Springs ambulance got stuck responding to a call yesterday. No one was hurt, and a second ambulance crew responded to the initial call. Cherokee County EMS posted photos on Facebook and thanked everyone who checked on the crew and helped. EMS says if these very heavy vehicles can become incapacitated, then lighter vehicles with lower ground clearance do not stand a chance. Well, just how bad are the roads? Well, bad enough that a snowplow driver tasked with cleaning those roads crashed in Carthage. The driver, a 70-year-old from Webb City, had minor injuries. His truck ran off the side of Goldenrod Road, flipped, and hit a fence. Snow and ice caused some 4-staters to lose power temporarily, but at this point, not many. Officials with the Carthage Water and Electric plant say they had around 10 customers lose power. They say the best thing you can do is to be prepared.
Get your blankets out, maybe get a flashlight out so you can see to ground around your house. Emergency kit in case you have it, candles so you could have another heat source or something to get around, and contact your local utility provider.
Officials also recommend having plenty of food and water in case of emergency. While many are able to work from home right now due to the inclement weather, first responders, they don't have that option. KOAM's Bronte Sarwinski spoke with a former firefighter who is ensuring our first responders get to and from work safely.
Winter weather is back in the 4 states, and road conditions aren't great. While it's recommended to stay home and stay off the roads, some people, like first responders, don't have that option. So Kyle Kugler with Rocking 2K Cattle and Transport decided to step in.
I'm just providing a free service for anyone who absolutely has to be out on the roads and has to actually get to work and doesn't have a choice to get there and doesn't have the means and capability to do it.
Any first responders in need of a ride to work, such as EMS, firefighters, police officers, or hospital staff, are welcome to give Kugler a call.
I've had some people call about getting picked up from the hospital for their evening shifts and making sure they can get home if they feel like they can't get home at all. And I've had some people just call and just check in and say thank you so much for what you're doing and everything. And it's been a real blessing to try and be able to help out.
He says the main purpose in providing a service like this isn't about gaining attention, but rather to ensure the safety of those working to keep us safe.
Just to help. No real purpose other than just wanting to help and just be there for people who need to have the help.
Originally from the Appalachian Mountains, Kugler is no stranger to driving in the snow and says the snow we've received in the past few days doesn't faze him or his truck. He wants to make sure he can give that comfort to others needing to be on the road.
You know, it's what I do. It's kind of basically what I do for a living. I transport animals, all over the United States. It's what I do is drive. So I can, driving in adverse conditions is something I deal with on a daily.
Mainly, he says he just wants to give back to those who give so much already. In Joplin, Bronte Sarwinski, KOAM News.
Any first responders in need of a ride can contact Kugler directly, and we have his contact information in an article on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. On this date, way back in 2004, a Harvard sophomore named Mark Zuckerberg launched the social media website known as Facebook. Originally designed to connect Harvard students, Facebook went from 1,000 Harvard users to over 2 billion active users worldwide. Despite connecting so many people, Facebook has had its share of controversies from day one, as dramatized in the movie The Social Network, all the way up to recent years with the spreading of misinformation and proliferation of fake accounts. However, there is no denying the impact Facebook has had on internet development, especially during the Web 2.0 phase. Despite the criticism, Facebook continues to dominate the social media market. It generates far more ad revenue and maintains over half the total market share. Coming up in Consumer Watch, we'll actually have a story about Meta, Facebook's now parent company.
Known as Facebook.
Yeah.
Zuckerberg reportedly lost $31 billion this week.
Yeah.
And
I picked up the phone and I told him, I said, I don't know about calling everything Meta.
you were like, MZ, what's up with this? Yeah, he went from 7th place on the Forbes richest person list to 10th place.
I like how, Facebook was designed initially for college students, and then as soon as like everybody was able to use it, and the college students were
College student got off.
ooh, well, we
They're
don't
like,
want to
when-
be connected to everybody.
When Graham starts using it, that's when they,
Yeah, we'll keep that account, but we're going to move on.
Right. And then there are people like me. They're like, why is this so hard to log into? I've got better things to do. Here's what it feels like throughout the course of our afternoon. It's chilly outside. We're just about done with our snow, but look at that. Wind chill is going to remain in the teens all day long. Overnight, back down to those single digits, and it's going to take a while for this 6 to 8 inches to go anywhere. And watch out for the refreeze, because we'll get that slush with the increased traffic over the weekend, and overnights we're down below freezing all the way through next week.
That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour in the KOAM Morning News. Cryptocurrency scams are on the rise. We've got tips on how you can protect yourself. Plus, we've seen how Mother Nature can wreak havoc on our lives over the last couple of days, and we want to know if you're staying safe in this winter storm. We'll be right back. In Consumer Watch this morning, young adults on social media are increasingly becoming the targets of hackers. According to federal data, cryptocurrency scams have skyrocketed during the pandemic. But as Laura Podesta reports, there are steps you can take to protect yourself.
24-year-old Mary Peplin says she thought she was messaging a friend from high school on Instagram. She shared her phone number and clicked on a link, but she says it turned out to be a scam.
I started getting messages and phone calls from friends and family asking me, hey Mary, are you on your Instagram right now, asking me for money. I think I had a panic attack. I was mortified. I was crying, I was upset, I did not know what to do.
Cryptocurrency scams have skyrocketed during the pandemic. The Federal Trade Commission estimates that since October 2020, people ages 20 to 49 were 5 times more likely to lose money in these online investment scams.
You want to trust your gut. If you have a bad feeling about someone you're talking to on the internet, you want to listen to those instincts.
Consumer Reports technology writer Thomas Germain says other steps you can take include not responding if it's someone you don't know. Check before you click on a link and limit Venmo or Cash App payments to friends only. Peplin called her experience traumatizing.
I was being treated differently by my peers because they thought, I'm either a scammer or I was dumb enough to get hacked.
She wants Instagram to do more to protect users like her. Instagram provided a statement that reads in part, "We have sophisticated measures in place to stop bad actors in their tracks before they gain access to accounts, as well as measures to help people recover their accounts." The statement went on to say, "We know we can do more here, and we're working hard in both these areas to stop bad actors before they cause harm." Laura Podesta, CBS News, New York.
Tech experts also suggest using two-factor authentication to access your accounts, and do not reuse passwords. It was a tough day for tech stocks on Thursday. The Dow shed 518 points. The Nasdaq dropped 538. S&P 500 fell 111. Facebook led the sell-off. Shares of its parent company, Meta, plummeted 26% on the day. By the time the bell rang, Meta's market value had declined by $232 billion. According to Wall Street Journal, it was the biggest one-day loss for any U.S. company in history. That's it for Consumer Watch. Let's go over to Michael for our Something to Talk About.
Thank you, Tanya. This morning on the KOM News Now Instapoll, discussing safety in the winter storm, a storm that expanded from the Rockies to Ohio and now making its way through the northeastern portion of the U.S. to New England, and of course in the 4 states, 6 to 8 inches of snow covering ice as well. Now, our question to you this morning, are you staying safe during the winter storm? And for the most part, the snow and the ice, they're done falling. Now we've just got to navigate around it for the next several days with these freezing cold temps. 87% of you say, yep, made it out pretty successfully. You can take part each and every morning. Either connect to us via our Facebook page, KOAM News Now. Go directly to the poll, KOAMnewsnow.com/vote, or if you've got your phone, snap a picture of that QR code right there with the camera on your phone, and that will deliver you instantly to the poll. We're going to come back, celebrate birthdays and anniversaries, but first a look at what's coming up on CBS Mornings.
We take this time to honor today's four-state hero, George Riley, a master sergeant and native of Pittsburgh, Kansas. He served in Korea in the tank division and earned the Korean Service Medal. To George Riley, we thank you, today's four-state hero.
The birthday list begins with Denver Hayden as he is celebrating his second birthday in Denver. These birthday wishes with love from mom and dad. He's going to have his party in Diamond.
Trying to think of what's going through that little boy's mind right now. Like, I wonder if Santa just appeared. He seems amazed. I like it. Nice look. Happy birthday, Denver. And a happy birthday to Wilder Roth, who's now 3 years old in Columbus. What a cute picture.
Kesslin Nesbitt with an 8th birthday. Kesslin is in California. I do not know if that is the state of California or whether that is California, Missouri. But either way, he used to live in Oswego. And so Kesslin, this comes with love from Poppy and Nani in the 4 states.
I bet he moved on out to big California. All right, well, happy birthday, Kesslin. Hope you can catch this online. And Callie Cleland celebrating birthday number 8 this year. That's where I want to be, up on the horse. She's a top hand at the Cleveland Cattle Company, I understand. Good one to have around.
Happy birthday, Miss Callie. Zoe Hess, now a teenager. Nice trophy there, Zoe. And a very happy birthday to you in Iola.
All right, happy birthday, Zoe. And a happy birthday wish going out to Bethany Johnson. Sweet 16 for Bethany in Columbus. I understand she is a chosen pianist for the SEKKMEA District Jazz Band. That's pretty cool. Very cool.
All right, we got another one who's ready for a driver's license as well. It is Wyatt Derman. Amazing photo right there, Wyatt. He's celebrating his 16th as well in Jasper.
All right. And we've got an early birthday wish going out to Macy Anderson. Says she's a Titan. I bet she's from Columbus. Macy is 19 years old.
Got a 21st birthday party commencing in Riverton as Isaiah Wooten is celebrating. Isaiah, have a great, safe party, my man.
All right. And Rachel Jones turning 25 years old. She works at Starbucks, you can see that. Making us something good and warm this morning. Rachel is in Pittsburgh, 25 years old.
Out to Parsons, where Gina Bauer is celebrating her 41st birthday. I don't know, you know what? I hope Gina has a chance to go back to the Chop House right there. That's where she should have her birthday party. Happy birthday, Miss Gina.
All right. And Josh Horton, one of our many 4-state heroes, turning 46 years old this year in Carthage with love from Mom, Pa, and the family.
Dwayne Willie, he is celebrating his 58th birthday. Dwayne, this birthday wish comes with love from your wife, Christy. Dwayne is in Mulberry.
All right, and we're turning 67. It's time to celebrate for Deborah Humble. Happy birthday.
I want to wish a happy birthday to Mr. William Beneke as he celebrates his 89th birthday. That picture that you're looking at right there was taken when Mr. Beneke was stationed in Germany during the Korean War. One of our 4-state heroes. Mr. Beneke, happy birthday from Shirley, Chris, Karen, David, Ethan, Aiden, and Landon, and all of us here at KOAM.
I like that picture. Emma Putnam celebrating birthday number 93 this year. What a lovely picture there, Miss Irma in Joplin with love from Christy and Dwayne.
All right, now we're done with the snow for the day, but I still want everybody to be careful, but I got an idea for you here. Because that lovely lady, Ann Bybee, is celebrating birthday number 100. And there is a scheduled drop-in reception for her in Parsons today. Now, speaking of being out on the road, get this. Miss Ann, she drives and volunteers in the community, and she has 2 siblings. She's got her brother Glenn, that's 101. Her sister Natalie is 98. That is truly amazing. So as far as the drop-in reception goes, like I say, everybody be safe out there, but certainly go wish Miss Ann a happy 100 in Parsons.
All right. Longevity runs in the family. I see that. And we've got Karen Vaughn, our neighbor in Crestline. Happy birthday to you, Karen. Coy Chisholm, celebrating birthday number 35 this year. Happy birthday, Coy. I bet you're out there moving some snow today on your birthday.
Ruth Ann Benedict, she's celebrating a birthday in Columbus. Happy birthday to Ruth Ann. And our good friend Sandy Wommeldorf is celebrating her 73rd birthday. Sandy, long time no see. Hope I get a chance to run into you soon, and a very happy birthday to you in Parsons. A happy birthday and happy anniversary to all on this February the 4th. Maybe we're just getting a day ahead because you're going to celebrate on the 5th. Either way, we got you. That's where you can submit them to. Birthdays at koamtv.com. You can also go to our website, koamnewsnow.com. Now, here's Tanya Bach with a very important birthday announcement.
That's right. You can be a part of the KOAM Birthday Club by going to our website and signing up. And once you do, you'll get special deals from local businesses. Go to koamnewsnow.com and sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club today.
While we're done with the snow, you're going to want to switch on over to us with the Fox 14, KOAM Morning News on Fox 14, because we truly have a story that you're not going to want to miss about an officer who went missing during World War II and now receiving a proper burial back in the United States. Once again, that's when we flip on over to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14, and of course we'll keep you apprised of our winter weather advisories there as well. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News right after this.
Here's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. A third suspect in a 2020 kidnapping and murder investigation gets prison time. Christina Knapp pled guilty to first-degree robbery and first-degree kidnapping in connection with the death of Sarah Pascoe. She gets 15 years on the robbery charge and 10 years on the kidnapping charge. Those sentences are to run consecutively. You can read more about the crime, including the sentences for two other suspects in the story at koamnewsnow.com. Police in Independence, Kansas are looking for suspects who they say threw a homemade chemical bomb out of a vehicle. It happened on Monday shortly after noon. Officers responded to the 1000 block of West Oak for a reported explosion. Witnesses say a vehicle with two people inside drove by, threw a bottle out, and the bottle filled with household chemicals exploded. No injuries were reported. Authorities say to stay away from any suspected bottle bombs and call the police immediately. Baxter Springs ambulance got stuck responding to a call yesterday. No one was hurt, and a second ambulance crew responded to the initial call. Cherokee County EMS posted photos on Facebook and thanked everyone who checked on the crew and helped. EMS says if these very heavy vehicles can become incapacitated, then lighter vehicles with lower ground clearance do not stand a chance. Well, just how bad are the roads? Well, bad enough that a snowplow driver tasked with cleaning those roads crashed in Carthage. The driver, a 70-year-old from Webb City, had minor injuries. His truck ran off the side of Goldenrod Road, flipped, and hit a fence. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
It's been a while since we've had a morning where we're able to see some sunshine, and that's where we're headed on this Friday. The snow finally a thing of the past. Still 6 to 8 inches remain on the ground, and with temperatures this cold, not going to go anywhere anytime soon. Single digits with negative wind chills throughout most of Friday morning, eventually making it up into the mid-20s, but overnight lows down to 5 degrees tonight and still considerably below 32. So watch out for refreezing all the way through next week.
Well, coming up today at noon, we're making chicken and dumplings in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
Of course, your morning news continues on KOAM, CBS Morning News. That's coming up next. Ice and snow, and Tanya, one thing that we did not touch on, the possibility of tornadoes.
Ooh.
Next on CBS Morning, see how millions of Americans in the southern portion of the United States, all the way through the Northeast and New England, now have to handle this latest winter storm that just swept through the 4 states in the last 48 hours.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues. And this morning, Ginny Moose takes a look at how some people have already given a nickname to the Washington football team.
Plus a story earlier about the Fort Scott girls basketball team, how they've turned things around, a complete 180 for the Tigers, who are now ranked in Kansas 4A in the entire state. Congratulations, ladies. Stick with us. We'll have that story, and that wraps it up for this edition of the KOAM Morning News. Have a great weekend. Try to stay warm. More importantly, be safe. We'll do this all again on Monday morning.
And we're going to do it again today at noon.